The food we eat contains a variety of nutrients, which are used for building new body tissues and repairing damaged tissues. Food is also vital to life because it is our only source of chemical energy. However, most of the food we eat consists of molecules that are too large to be used by body cells. Therefore, foods must be broken down into molecules that are small enough to enter body cells for their use. This is accomplished by the digestive system, which forms an extensive surface area in contact with the external environment, and is closely associated with the cardiovascular system. The combination of extensive environmental exposure and close association with blood vessels is essential for processing the food that we eat. So, in this presentation, we are going to tackle the gastrointestinal system. Begins with the mouth and ends in the anus. The primary function of the GI system is the digestion and absorption of food, and the provision of a barrier to many potentially harmful ingested substances. So here in the next slide, I'm going to discuss a little bit about the digestive system. Digestive system consists of a group of organs that break down the food and that we eat into smaller molecules that can be used by body cells. So there are 6 basic processes of the digestive system. The first one will be ingestion, which is taking food into mouth. 2. Secretion, release of water, acid buffers, and enzymes into lumen of GI tract. Third one will be mixing and propulsion, churning and movement of food through the GI tract. Fourth one will be digestion, mechanical and chemical breakdown of the food. Absorption is the passage of digested products from the GI tract into blood and lymph. The sixth one will be defecation, which is the elimination of feces from the GI tract. So there are 2 groups of organs composed by the digestive system, which are the gastrointestinal tract and the accessory digestive organs. So, the gastrointestinal tract or alimentary canal, alimentary meaning nourishment, is a continuous tube that extends from the mouth to the anus through the thoracic and abdominopelvic cavities. Organs of the gastrointestinal tract include the mouth, most of the pharynx, esophagus, stomach, small intestine, and large intestine. And from the accessory digestive organs include the teeth, tongue, salivary glands, liver, gallbladder, and pancreas. The teeth aid in the physical breakdown of food, and the tongue assists in chewing and swallowing. The other accessory digestive organs, however, never come into direct contact with food. They produce or store secretions that flow into the GI tracts through the ducts. The secretions aid in the chemical breakdown of food. So from what we all know that the GI tract contains food from the time it is eaten until it is digested and absorbed or eliminated. So, muscular contractions in the wall of GI tract physically break down the food by churning it and propel the food along the tract, from the esophagus to the anus. The contractions also help to dissolve foods by mixing them with fluids secreted into the tract. The wall of the GI tract from the lower esophagus to the anal canal has the same basic four-layered arrangement of tissues. So there are four layers of the GI tract, from deep to superficial, which are the mucosa, submucosa, muscularis, and serosa. The mucosa, or inner lining of the GI tract, is a mucous membrane. It is composed of a layer of epithelium in direct contact with the contents of the GI tract. Second is a layer of connective tissues that called the lamina propria. And the third one, a thin layer of smooth muscles called muscularis mucosae. The second is the submucosa that consists of areolar connective tissue that binds the mucosa to the muscularis. It also contains many blood and lymphatic vessels that receive absorbed food molecules. The muscularis of the mouth, pharynx, and superior and middle parts of the esophagus contain skeletal muscle that produces voluntary swallowing. Those proportions of the GI tract that are suspended in the abdominal cavity have a superficial layer called the serosa. As its name implies, the serosa is a serous membrane composed of areolar connective tissue and simply squamous epithelium. So there are 6 organs in the GI tract, right? So I will be discussing each one of them together with their functions. The mouth, also referred to as oral or buccal cavity. Bucca means cheeks. Is formed by the cheeks, hard and soft palates, and tongue. The mouth is the beginning of the digestive tract. In fact, digestion starts before you even take a bite. Your salivary glands gets active as you see and smell that pasta dish or warm bread. After you start eating, you chew your food into pieces that are more easily digested. Your saliva mixes with the food to begin to break it down into a form your body can absorb and use. When you swallow, your tongue passes the food into your throat and into your esophagus. When food is first swallowed, it passes from the mouth into the pharynx or throat, a funnel-shaped tube that extends from the internal nares to the esophagus posteriorly and to the larynx anteriorly. The pharynx is divided into 3 parts: the nasopharynx, the oropharynx, and the laryngopharynx. The nasopharynx functions only in respiration, but both of the oropharynx and laryngopharynx have digestive as well as respiratory functions. Swallowed food passes from the mouth into the oropharynx and laryngopharynx. The muscular contractions of these areas help propel food into the esophagus and then into the stomach. The functions of the pharynx delivers food and liquid to the digestive system, pushes food into the esophagus so it's not breathed in. The esophagus. Esophagus, meaning eating gullet, is a collapsible muscular tube. It is about 20 centimeters long that lies posterior to the trachea. The esophagus begins at the inferior end of the laryngopharynx, passes through the inferior aspect of the neck, and enters the mediastinum anterior to the vertebral column. The esophagus secretes mucus and transports food to the stomach. The stomach is a J-shaped enlargement of the GI tract directly inferior to the diaphragm in the abdomen. The stomach connects the esophagus to the duodenum, the first part of the small intestine. Functions of the stomach is mixing saliva, food, and gastric juice to form chyme. 2. Serves as a storage for food before release into small intestine. 3. Secretes gastric juice which contains HCI that kills bacteria and denatures proteins. Pepsin that begins the digestion of proteins. Intrinsic factor aids absorption of vitamin B12. And gastric lipase aids digestion of triglycerides. And the fourth one, it secretes gastrines into blood. Most digestion and absorption of nutrients occur in a long tube called the small intestine. Because of this, its structure is specially adapted for these functions. So, there are 3 regions divided in the small intestine. And the first part of the small intestine is the duodenum. It is the shortest region and it starts at the pyloric sphincter of the stomach and is in the form of C-shaped tube. Duodenum means 12. It is so named because it is about as long as the width of 12 fingers. The jejunum is the next portion that extends to the ileum. Jejunum means empty, which is how it is found at death. The final and longest region of the small intestine is the ileum. Ileum means twisted. It measures about 2 meters and joins the large intestine at a smooth muscle sphincter. Functions of the small intestine. The first one will be the segmentations, mix chyme with digestive juices and bring food into contact with mucosa for absorption. Peristalsis propels chyme through small intestine. And the next one is it completes digestion of carbohydrates, proteins, and lipids. The third one is that It absorbs about 90% of nutrients and water that pass through digestive system. And here, the final organ that we're going to discuss in this slide is the large intestine. Large intestine is the terminal portion of the GI tract. The overall functions of the large intestine are the completion of absorption, the production of certain vitamins, and formation of feces and the expulsion of feces from the body. Regions of the large intestines are the cecum, colon, rectum, and anal canal. Haustral churning. Peristalsis and mass peristalsis drive contents of the colon into rectum. Second, bacteria in large intestine converts proteins to amino acids, break down amino acids, and produce some B vitamins and vitamin K. Third one is the absorption of some water, ions, and vitamins. And fourth one is the formation of feces. And the last one is the defecation or emptying the rectum. And that will be all for the gastrointestinal system. Thank you for listening and watching.